So we are in election season in South Africa and many other countries of the world. 29th of May 2024, it's a Wednesday, is going to be our election date. We're going to be having 3 ballots for the first time. So we're voting nationally for political parties. And I have Cyril's pretty face there. And John Steenhuisen's pretty face there. Oh, and Julius's very handsome face there as well. Then there's going to be the provincial ballot, voting for your provincial representation. And then there's going to be a new ballot for independence, which is something completely new. And I still think the IEC and the people that run this country are messing around with us. It's still a work in progress. Dr. Michael Louis are still challenging the Constitutional Court with getting independents to comfortably be able to run in this country and represent their constituencies. But yeah, man, it's election season, and I made a conscious decision on the panel show to try and focus more on political content leading up to the elections, and then post the elections, I'm going to be doing less of that. Last year, I sat with Gayton McKenzie of the Patriotic Alliance. I sat with Vuyo Zungula of the African Transformation Movement, the ATM. I've sat with the new party in Port Dakada of Arise SA. I haven't had the privilege, I don't know if I'll get a chance to sit with Tusongezo Zibi of Rise Mzansi. They were funded by Rebecca Oppenheim with 15 million, which caused a bit of a buzz. I've sat with Herman Mashaba of Action SA, which is new to national elections. They did well at the local in 2021. I've sat with Reverend Kenneth Mishwe of the ACDP, the African Christian Democratic Party. If I get a chance, I'm going to sit with Uvelenkosi Nihlabisa, the new leader of Inkatha Freedom Party, the IFP. Who am I forgetting? I'd love to sit with EFF leadership. I sat with, I think it's the MMC of Public Safety. I sat with him on another platform. I'd love to sit with people from the DA, if John Steenhuisen is available. But because it's election season, these people are wanted everywhere.
Yeah.
So I understand that not being able to sit with them, it's chilled. And then look, if ever I got to sit with Cyril or some of the leadership of the ANC, that would be really dope. If not, in the absence of that, I'm going to be doing a lot of thought pieces, my own, on the elections and what to expect. I've given my projections of what's coming. At the business conference in Hermanus, a big theme there was what's going to be happening in the elections. Everyone's speaking about that right now. So I guess in that maybe summary, I sat with Tutuzane Zuma as well of All Game Changers, AGC. Your thoughts on the upcoming elections? Why are you voting for the Freedom Front Plus and why Julius Malema must go to jail? I'm kidding.
In previous elections, there was always a, from what I'm feeling, this is my experience during this time, there was always a sense of excitement and a sense of debate amongst people, a sense of being willing to stand up and question and have opposing opinion, point out certain instances, trash talk, because it's a free country. We can say whatever we want.
It's a huge privilege, by the way.
Yes. This time around, it's very, like, almost docile. Everybody's like, the sense of urgency is not there for me. This is what I'm experiencing.
Sure.
From people that I've spoken to.
No. We need your personal feel and experience. Sure.
It's not like I'm going to vote for XYZ because I believe they can get up and make a change. No. They are selling themselves well to the community. They are speaking my love language. They are inspiring me to have faith and believe in whatever they are selling or representing.
Yeah.
I don't feel that. I don't feel a sense of excitement. Like if we get a new party to have control over our district or our country, there's going to be a massive change. It seems very low-key and very, I don't know if oppressed is the right word, but very, like people are not speaking about it. It's like, I don't know if people have given up to vote for change or vote for a better future, but it feels like they are starting to. That's my feeling.
Okay. I also sat with Musi Maimani of Bold One South Africa, Bosa, and Bongani Baloyi of Shiluba, which is also a new party. I'm a bit more in the mix of things, so there's a lot of noise from my side. There's obviously the multi-party charter, the Moonshot Pact. These guys are punting that 2024 is our 1994 for change, 30 years of corruption. There's a lot of new parties, which is half refreshing. We haven't had so many new parties like this where people almost believe that there could be some type of a difference.
I understand how we can view that as a positive,
Yeah.
but is it also a negative? Because if you are voting for change, and let's say there's two big parties that haven't been producing the change that they've promised, voting for change for smaller parties, this is your opinion.
Yeah.
My question, is that taking away from maybe the challenger party that's about to really go and throw some punches, and making the one big party just continue winning by diluting the amount of opposition they can create against themselves? That's just how I see it.
No,
I think it
understand.
is.
And
I
look,
think it is.
it's worth a debate, right? Let me share a few opinions that I have. Number one, I think South Africa is too big for our parliament to govern. So I've almost been yearning to say this thing. I want us to bring back Bantustans, but not in the way the apartheid government had them. But I think South Africa needs to be split. Not necessarily Cape Independence. I don't support Cape Independence. But we need to reimagine what this country could be, and not one lump. I love South Africa. This is my country. This country is very diverse. And diversity and the Rainbow Nation has been sold as a beautiful thing. And I'm of the opinion that as a developing nation, I don't think that's a good thing. I think it dilutes what you're meant to be building. So I wish we could split this country almost into certain blocks that focus on only certain things, number one. I think our current parliament is too big. 400 seats. I did an audit and I only know 68 of those people. And I'd like to think I'm politically literate. I only know 68, which can only tell me that the average South African knows way less. I think the ANC has got too many useless seats that sit there and sleep. And only when it's time to vote for something, they're like, what's the ANC opinion? Oh, yes. What's the DO opinion? No. So they've got 200 and, I don't know if it's 240 seats or so. And most people probably know like 5, 10 ANC MPs. The rest are just fodder there. They could argue that they represent constituencies and branches, but that's for them. For what parliament is meant to be, which is meant to be the seating of people that decide on policy and debate on policy that runs the country. I think they are useless because they do not engage. I think we need a smaller parliament. Maybe 200. We could maybe even bring it down to 100. I don't know. But they must represent certain interest groups and be very clear, those people. And they must sit and they must debate robustly so. They mustn't sit there as a huge block of an ANC majority and be like, well, Ramaphosa thinks we must go with these cups. Then they're like, hey, since he's our leader, let's all... You've lost the whole point of that. Then what's the point? So with that being said, the idea that the DA or the multi-party charter posits this, it would be better if we just had a few political parties and then they can challenge. It's cute on paper, and this is why it's worth a debate. I would prefer having a room of 200 people representing constituencies. It could be Gauteng or North Gauteng. So when I go to parliament, I'm on the ground, I speak to people, I speak to the mayors, I speak to everyone. I've driven around, and whenever I sit in parliament and people are saying, this is what we want on education, on healthcare, I'm like, no, it's a no from me. Yes, which party do you represent? Doesn't really matter which party I represent. I'm here on principle and for North Gauteng to come and deal with certain issues. That's one of the fights of Dr. Michael Lew and the guys challenging for independence. We have become political party obsessed, and we've lost the cause of, or the purpose of governance, which is to fundamentally create policies that solve problems and that ensure that we go somewhere. So whether ANC or DA, even within the ANC or the DA, we appreciate Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma voting no. And it was deemed controversial. Twice. She said she's resigning from parliament, by the way. And that's meant to be a bad thing. And you're like, why? So we've come up with this thing of, if you are DA and John Steenhuisen says this, or Helen
have
Ziller
to
wants this,
follow.
therefore you must follow party protocol, even if it's counter what the people need. That can't be something that we're comfortable with. So for me, outside of the Bantustans and outside of collapsing parliament, the idea of giving some of these seats that are useless. I mentioned the ANC, the DA has got 80 something as the official opposition. We probably only know 5 of those DA people. The rest, again, are just sleeping. The EFF has got 40 something. We probably know 5 or 10. They're a bit louder in parliament. They're present. But a lot of their members also, we don't know them. We don't know the work they do, etc. So, and those are the 3 big parties. Then there's a whole lot of others with 1, 2 seats. And when I look at some of those parties, you look at the UDM with Bantu Olomisa, General Bantu Olomisa, and Ngabomzi, who sits there as well. You look at the work of Uvuyo Zungula. I don't know if ATM has 1 or 2 seats. They challenged the Pala thing. They took Ramaphosa to court. They've been very vocal about certain things. You look at some of the seats of the Freedom Front Plus with Peter Groenewald and the Mulder family. They are vocal and they raise certain things. We lost him last year, but some of the challenges you'd get from Chief Mangosuthu Buthelezi from the IFP. And some be like, yeah, but this, like, no. These guys are meant to debate policy. I would like more people getting seats, and I want people that are vocal, that are out there. Could be a Musi Maimani, could be a Herman Mashaba, could be a Gayton McKenzie. I'd like them to sit in parliament and debate and say, no, let's say Gayton McKenzie, let's say, for example, he represented the colored opinion. And they're like, no, it decides, like, no. You guys keep telling us about BEE, but you're not showing us the colored people that are benefiting from this thing. And then Musi Maimani is like, listen, I've got a white wife, I've got mixed race kids, and everything you guys are speaking about is divisive for my family.
Yes.
Because you're asking me to fight against my wife, and you're asking my kids to look at me and my wife and be like, but where are we colored?
Yes.
Where are we? And you're like, this is a different voice. And Herman Mashaba comes in and is like, I'm a capitalist. I hate communism. I'm about private property and we're about capitalism and building. You're like, okay, I like that. And Peter Groenewald comes in and is like, aangename spreker, as die vryheid, what, and you're like, okay, maybe on behalf of Afrikaans people, whatever. Like, that's what's meant to happen when they sit. And then they arm wrestle and you listen to the different constituencies. And constituency-based voting we had before 1994, by the way. You would see a member of parliament and know Bobby Petkoff represents that, to a point where if we're not happy with you representing us, you were sleeping while they were discussing crime. Baba, we're recalling you. Send Elsie.
Yes.
Because Elsie at least is like, why was Bobby sleeping? What the hell? You know, people are going to, Elsie, please go represent us there.
But now,
now we don't have that currently. And I hate the idea of multiple parties, by the way. We've got 300 and something at the IEC. On the ballot, we might end up with like maybe 60 or whatever. To be fully honest, when you do the maths, of which we had 17.4 million real voters out of 26 million last time. Realistically, the top 3 parties take like 80%.
yeah.
So to be honest, even with the multiple parties, there's nothing to fear really. But what I want is representation. I want those seats to work. I want people to stand up in parliament and say, point of order, I'm sorry. I represent the people of Durban. And, I know you guys are speaking very comfortably but in Durban, this is the issue that we have. And if we end up passing this policy, I need you to understand what's going to happen to the people of Durban.
The impact.
And someone else says, look, I represent the Western Cape. And you guys are saying, let's all celebrate Total and Shell and fracking. And it's great. And look, it can make us a lot of money, tax revenue. But please consider the displacement of the people that will happen there. Consider the environmental impact. And before you make your decision, because you guys are there in Gauteng comfortably, no one is coming to Sandhurst to destabilize your life. Please consider us there. And we're not saying let's not do it. We see it. But we'd like you to please consider these things before the policy is passed. Thank you very much, Speaker. And you have these people sit and literally devise. But this is why I was even speaking about splitting the country. Because the bulk of our politicians live in Gauteng. They actually don't really care about the rest of the country. Unless it has to do with making money and those things. And even then, it's not really taken seriously. The idea of splitting this country where people actually are like, in the Free State and maybe parts of the Northern Cape, this is our agenda. Yes, it feeds into a united South African agenda, like the United Arab Emirates, which has 7 kingdoms. And KwaZulu. But look at what the DA is doing in the Western Cape, Madam Speaker. We are governing better. And the people in KZN are like, hey, we don't live in the Western Cape. We don't know. Guys are speaking about rich white people at Camps Bay. We're not interested. Tina and KwaZulu, we've got unique instances, and now we have to compromise on policy because the Western Cape is saying, no, Baba, we don't want to compromise on this, because if we compromise, we lose a lot. The Western Cape gains. Why can't the Western Cape do that thing? Do it. Don't compromise as well.
Yes.
And let us do our own thing. But because there's a clash. There's a clash in ideologies, in cultures, and visions in this country. And you've got capitalists fighting socialists. And I almost wish the socialists could be given blocks and told, EFF, do your thing. We're giving you the 2.8 million hectares of the Zulu Kingdom, Ngonyama Trust. Go nationalize that, and guys, show us the beautiful work you're going to be doing. And let them do their thing, and have the capitalists be like, Yarr. EFF is doing well with that nationalization. They've got an Amazon to invest. You know, Google has come in. They're building electric cars. Unemployment has gone down in KwaZulu. Zulu people are happy they're building Zulu schools. Universities are like, yeah, man. This EFF looks like it's doing something. We think we want it here in the Northwest. But we're not there yet. And we have to play with what we have now. And I'm just answering this thing of having multiple parties and small parties. Yes, it dilutes here, but it's because we are so political party focused. Instead of what I think we should be focusing on is the seats. Who is sitting on these seats? We're speaking almost like Springboks, which is my favorite analogy. 400 potential Springboks sitting. And this one guy never tackles. This one guy, when you pass him the ball, is always knocking. You're like, no, this guy must go.
Yes.
I envision a parliament in this country, of which I've got issues just with democracy, by the way. Maybe that's a conversation for another day. I envision a parliament where the average South African knows the majority of who's sitting there and is proud of them. And if ever we had to challenge global, an Olympics or World Cup of governments, you're so proud of them to a point where the smartest, most talented, most innovative kids in society are like, you're really smart, you're brilliant. You're going to be in parliament. You're like, of course. The fact that I'm so brilliant, I'm definitely going to parliament. And everyone is like the greatest kids. I want to be the smartest, the best sportsman. And Christo Wiese sat in parliament at some point. Ernest Oppenheimer sat in parliament at some point. That's meant to be the story. The most brilliant people are meant to be like, even if it's just going to be for one term. For one term, I will sit as a super businessman or as a super athlete, and I'll serve for like 5 years. Because I'm brilliant and society needs me to sit and be like, look, I want to challenge some of these sporting regulations you guys have, and that's why I'm here. So that when I leave here, the kids in future will be like, we had Siya Kolisi sit there at some point. We had Francois Pinar sit at some point, and they're the reason we had this policy change.
So a couple of months ago, a political party approaches us and says, you look like you can do debates really, really well. I said, all day, all we do is debate. Will this work? Won't it work? Why won't it work? What happens if we do this? So we invite them to the show, and I say, let's give this a go. And we're debating a topic. I go, I prepare, and my function in the debate is to poke at opposing opinion, so that hopefully the truth comes out, and we can move forward with this truth. So emotion aside, what is the best way possible by unpacking all the variables? I'm very excited. We sit here, right here. I sat here, and we go boom, boom, back and forth. And the solution that came to me then was exactly on what you're saying. Let's say, for example, take the ruling party, take the ANC. We are bringing a policy forward that has to be enforced, and the policy is XYZ. Before we bring it forward, we're going to have a televised event where all the players, the 200 odd seats, have to debate and unpack all the variables before we know our position. Are we going to approve this, pass it, or not pass it? And not simply because the leader says, we'll pass it, everybody votes yes. But I think that the deeper problem here is there are consequences.
What are the consequences?
Well, we don't know.
Oh.
the consequences are, if you debate me on this, maybe something happens afterwards. And I think televising an event like this starts to bring things from under the table onto the table. And with today's technology, we can do, I mean, it can be a live podcast. It takes 3-4 cameras and a couple of mics, and the whole country can see it.
Patrick Bet-David is probably moving in that direction at a very fast pace, and it's pretty dope.
Yes.
And maybe Elon Musk will also maybe create a platform on X for people to debate. We used to debate. Nelson Mandela debated F.W. de Klerk before 1994.
Yes.
And then for obvious reasons, they started killing this thing of public debates. You have Cyril Ramaphosa, you have John Steenhuisen, and you have Julius Malema. And you have a smart mediator, whoever's leading in media today,
Yes.
who sits and you're like, these are the big issues. Mr. Ramaphosa, your thoughts on how to fix the ESCOM situation. Mr. John Steenhuisen, Mr. Julius Malema. Next thing, crime. And you listen and people are like, okay.
On that, unpack it. So that's the final of the World Cup.
That's the final. That is the final.
But we want to see the quarterfinals and the qualifying.
Correct.
And that is the ANC and the EFF and the DA sitting televised.
Sure.
Debating, okay, we're going to have to present a solution to ESCOM. How do we, as the DA or the ANC or the EFF, propose that we end load shedding? And we're going to give a roadmap that step one needs to be this, because everyone says, yeah, we're gonna end load shedding. When?
How?
Mm-hmm. Is there a date?
Sure.
Can we put it in? No one's saying nothing because there's no plan.
The problem is these guys are boring because parliamentary TV is available. No one watches it. And look, shout out to the EFF. They got a lot of people to start watching Parliament at some point with their disruptions. But you want to package it in a way that is palatable and exciting.
We have 90 minutes.
Have people actually want to tune in because it's a thing. And it's run through the media. Everyone at school, at church is speaking about it. Apparently tonight, my parents are all going to be watching this thing on the NHI and whether NHI works or not and what's going to happen to private hospitals and my medical aid. And you're like, I'm in. I'm in. So anyways, that's all I have for today.
Cool, man. I've enjoyed.
Thanks, Bobby.
Thank
you for the education, man, on We Buy Cars and on the car industry just in general. I think it's very important.
Just an opinion. That's all I have.
Your opinion is worth a lot, and you know it.
Appreciate you.
You know, without the humility, you've been in the industry for a while. You're fully entrenched. You're on the money, on the data. You have a team that is also passionate. So your opinion is worth a lot, and I appreciate it very, very much. And then again, Marcus Jooste and his passing or his suicide has been very sad.
Yeah.
And then, election season. Who are you voting for?
Man, it's the second time you ask me. I wish I could say I'm not voting, but that's bullshit. I should vote. I'm going to answer you on the next time we meet.
This guy. Vince, who are you voting for? Vince doesn't know who he's voting for. Elsie? Don't know. We've got a guest in the back. I won't mention the name. Who are you voting for? Patriotic Alliance. We've got one Patriotic Alliance and many I don't knows. Are you going to give me an answer next time?
Yeah, I'll give you an answer.
Okay.
Cool.
I'm happy. Thank you very much, guys. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you. Bye-bye.